You know, I've been riding motorcycles for about 17 years now, and I've never had an accident on the road. I have dropped a couple of bikes, but that's a different story. I've never come off, and then I got invited to go to Mini Motos for a friend's stag do. It's absolutely hilarious. Anyway, welcome to CG Rides. Today you find me out on my BMW F850 GS, and I'm making my way towards Exmoor to enjoy some of this amazing sunshine that we're getting in the UK at the moment. That's not what you came to watch. No doubt you clicked on the thumbnail because you're either interested in watching me crash and having a good laugh at my expense, which is I'm glad to have been of service, or it's because you go at Mini Motos yourself and you maybe are looking for some information about it. So let me just relay my experience and a few tips that I could maybe pass on. The first of which is, don't assume that because you ride a motorbike, assuming that you do, that you'll be able to ride Mini Moto. Some of the skills are transferable, but you do need to kind of forget a lot of what you know. For starters, the bikes are absolutely tiny, and you've got to kind of fold yourself onto the bike, which is pretty uncomfortable. So the shorter you are, the easier this is going to be, and the younger you are, the easier it will be. So you've got to kind of get yourself on this tiny little bike, and you've got to get your feet so that the soles of your shoes are on the engine. So you kind of have your ankles coming out at 90 degrees from the side of the bike. That's how you're supposed to be. I mean, I cannot get my feet in that position, so I just do the best I can. But that is very tricky, and if you can't get your feet in that position, then you're going to suffer. The most common big injury for people doing Mini Motos is breaking their ankle. And a lot of times it's because they can't get their feet on the pegs properly, and they end up kind of running over their foot or smacking it on the side or something. You know, you need to be able to get your feet up, and it's just not like riding a motorbike at all. You do need to try and contortion yourself. It's like human origami, if you like. And you've got to kind of spread your knees out as far as possible. Now, if you don't manage to get your feet on the pegs properly and get them tucked in, what will happen is, as you go around the corner, you're leaning over, you'll end up dragging your foot. So this most recent visit was the second time I've been to this place, and the first time I went, that was the problem I was having. I couldn't get my foot on the peg properly, and it was dragging through every corner. So I wasn't able to go at full speed because I wasn't able to lean the bike over. I never got onto the knee slider, for example. And I ruined a really good pair of Sparkos as well in the process. So here's another thing, what you wear. So obviously if you're a biker, take your own helmet, take your own gloves. You could get away with wearing your leathers, but you certainly won't be wearing motorcycle boots because you won't be able to move your feet into that position. So you need trainers, and something like, you know, Sparko driving shoes. Wow, that's tighter than I thought. Something like Sparko driving shoes are ideal. Just be prepared to ruin them, so don't wear your best shoes, I suppose. And they're going to give you, if you don't take your own leathers, they're going to give you racing overalls and sort of strap on knee sliders, which actually sit lower than the knee. It's kind of a protective cup for your knee, but the slider's just a little bit further down your leg, which makes a lot of sense. And you can quite easily get your knee down. Now, I'm a competent rider, but I don't ride so fast on the public roads that I've ever been in a position where I need to have knee sliders on. And I've never done a track day, so I've never got my knee down. But I did get my knee down for Mini Motos, and it's easy to do. So we had this kind of first session. So our format was practice, qualifying, and then a race. So it's 15-minute practice, 15-minute qualifying, and I think it was a 25-lap race, which works out to be about 15 minutes, I suppose. For the first bit of the practice session, everyone's just kind of wobbling around and getting used to this bizarre feeling with these tiny wheels and this bike, which is I think they might be 50cc. It's a 2-stroke. Definitely has a power band that can catch you out if you're not careful, but there's no clutch, there's no gears, it's just an automatic, and you don't have any foot pedals, obviously. So you've got a back brake like a bicycle. You've got a back brake on the left bar and a front brake on the right bar. I didn't use the back brake at all, actually. I just couldn't do it because of my muscle memory thinks clutch, so it just didn't make sense to me. I was using the front brake, but only gently. I was coming off the throttle rather than using the brake because I was nervous about tucking the front wheel. And I suspect this is why, or this is where I lost time, because I wasn't as aggressive on the brakes as I could have been. The problem is that the bikes, much like when you go karting, you know, rental carts and these rental bikes, they're tuned to be pretty easy to ride. So they don't pick up speed particularly quickly when you set it off. So if you slow down too much, if you're too heavy on the brakes, you just end up losing momentum. So it's better just to come off the throttle, light a touch on the brakes, and try and carry as much momentum through the corner as you can. And you've also got to kind of come back onto the throttle a little bit sooner than you think you need to. Again, it's a lot like driving rental cars. There's just not enough power there to give you the instant shove, so you have to work around that. So out we go for the practice session. Everyone's wobbling around a bit. It's yellow lights on, which is the equivalent of your yellow flag, of course. Everyone's supposed to be going at a walking pace, but it doesn't always transpire that way. I just came up behind a group of people and I decided to kind of nip down the left of them, and my plan was just to take a real wide corner and go past them all on the outside. My mate Dave here, he didn't see me coming, obviously, no rear view mirrors, so he was just changing position. I'm coming up behind, so he bumped into me. Not his fault, my fault. I shouldn't have been doing it. It was a silly move, and I came off. And in the heat of the moment, I actually thought that he'd come off as well. And it's only when I watched it back that I realised he didn't. But he'd stopped, so I was aware he'd stopped, but I didn't realise until afterwards he stopped to check I was okay. I was so frustrated and embarrassed that I'd come off before we'd even got started, and I just wanted to get going again, so I completely missed the fact that they'd stopped. I did apologise to him after the race. Anyway, so the rest of the practice session went off without a hitch, and I was getting my knee down through the corners. I felt pretty confident going into the qualifying session. I didn't feel confident because I'm a biker. You have to understand that just because you bike doesn't mean that you're going to be the quickest at these things. The last time I went, there was a friend of one of my sons he won the race. I came second. He lapped me in a 25 lap race. He lapped me. He was going that much quicker, and I tried to follow him when he came past me. And do you know what? I couldn't figure out what he was doing, but he was a couple of seconds a lap quicker than me. He'd never ridden a bike before, so you can't expect to be the best just because you've got motorcycling experience. Then the groom to be, he is a biker, and he won the race actually. And his brother, who isn't a biker, well, they were both about the same sort of speed. I think there was only a tenth in it or something at the end. They were obviously having a great race, but they were very quick, so I knew I wasn't going to be able to be as quick as them. But I felt fairly confident that I could maybe get a podium. So I was pushing on a bit in qualifying, trying to find the limits, but what I didn't realise is that my body was starting to seize up or stiffen up, so I wasn't able to spread my legs as wide as I had been. And that meant the knee sliders weren't where I thought they were going to be. So I was pushing on, trying to find limits, if you like, and there's a couple of occasions where I'm expecting the knee slider to hit, and it never did, and I just slid the bike out. So that happens. It didn't hurt. It doesn't hurt when you come off like that. The big thump I got, that really did hurt. Now you're given these overalls to wear, which aren't really very protective. I mean, I managed to burn my skin through the overall, and there wasn't there was a hole in the overall or anything, so just heat transfer, I guess. I've got a picture here of what my arm was like after that crash, and It did. It was quite bruised. It did come up a fairly big shade of yellow. Was pretty sore for a few days, but otherwise fine. But it did hurt when I went down. Now what happened was there were yellow lights on. The yellow lights came off, but the two guys in front of me hadn't noticed that. And I thought, as I was going around this corner, I didn't want to just charge past them, so I thought I'll just take a wide line and I'll go past in a moment. So I just was not expecting to be hit from the rear. And my mate who went into me, he had no idea that I'd gone down. He knew we'd touched, obviously, but he just carried on riding. He wasn't aware I'd come off or that I'd hurt myself. So just one of those things. But yeah, if you get knocked, if someone bumps into you, chances are you're going down. And sometimes it can hurt a little bit. So here I am under the bike, moaning and winching, and then as I'm about to pull away, the guy says to me, "Just take it easy," something like that. I got really cross with him. I'm like, I have been taking it easy. Someone rode into me. I've had this a few times when I've been like karting or this case Mini Moto, where I've been completely taken out by someone and then it's been blamed on me. In fact, I even got black flagged on a karting session once because somebody parked on the apex of the corner. Just parked the car, hit the anchors right in the apex of the corner. I went into the back of them and got black flagged. Some of these places are pretty irritating, especially when you've spent the money. So what do I think of M4 Karting in Swindon? Yeah, it's an okay place. The bikes obviously take a beating, so it is luck of a draw as to what you're going to get. The first two sessions I had a bike with crooked handlebars. You just learn to ride around it, I suppose, but yeah, there are bikes that are better than others. There's no getting around that. And it's the same when you go karting. There's always karts that are better than the others. There's always a bit of variation. It's not a level playing field. It never is. When we went there last year, I took my two sons, and I think I'd paid something crazy. It was like 60 or 70 pounds each to go and do this. And my youngest son, he didn't even complete an entire lap because he was just so uncomfortable on the bike. And I think he would have been absolutely fine if he just had a few more laps, or if someone had just helped him. But the staff weren't interested in helping him. They were just wanting to get him off the circuit. And there's no refunds. So I paid all that money for him to do less than a lap. And it probably has put him off biking a little bit. Although I would say if you go to Mini Moto and have a bad experience, it really shouldn't put you off biking because it's not the same. So let's just get to the race then. I didn't qualify very well. I ended up qualifying 5th, but I thought I might be able to get to the first corner. I had a different bike for the race, didn't behave the same way. I should have been revving it more at the start, but I didn't think. And yeah, got a really poor getaway. So Dave, the guy I bumped into earlier, he managed to get in front of me from 6th place, and he stayed in front of me. And the guy was an absolute wizard at keeping me behind him. And that's racing. That's racecraft. In fact, if you've got track position, you don't want to be giving that up for anybody. And he took some interesting lines through the corners, but it just totally shut down all of my overtaking opportunities. He was just fast enough. I felt like I had a bit more pace under me, but he was fast enough to mean that it would have been a dive bomb. So I just thought, I'm not prepared to do that. I hurt myself already. Confidence starting to ebb away a bit, body seizing up. I'm not going to throw myself up the inside or make some desperate move. I certainly didn't want to be responsible for him coming off and hurting himself. So I just thought, it doesn't matter. I'm never going to catch the guys in front now anyway. So I'll just sit behind and wait for him to make a mistake, which he never did. Or an opportunity presents itself, which it never did. But we did have a situation then towards the end of the race. We were lapping people, so there was traffic, and the guys didn't understand what the blue lights meant, so they weren't getting out of the way. So I kind of got stuck behind them for a few corners. But what that did was created a huge gap and a load of track space for me. I was going to pull out then, but I thought the better of it. This is the, I think they call this the North Devon Expressway, and it's got a whole bunch of average speed cameras and stuff, so I'm going to be really cautious on this road. Anyway, towards the end of the race, I got that free track in front of me, and I was able then to just have 2 or 3 laps, I think it's probably about 3 laps, where I could just get my head down and try and set a fastest lap. I just wanted to set a faster lap than I'd done in any of the previous sessions. I'd be happy with that. I'm going to show you those last few laps in a moment. I'll just leave those to play as the video finishes. You can critique my technique. I've already seen on the laps where I could have gone faster, so I think I could have actually shaved another second off or thereabouts, and that still wouldn't have made me a particularly quick rider for this circuit. But I also wasn't the slowest, so I'm okay with that. I did manage to finish the race in 5th, and I think my fastest lap was the 3rd fastest, so I did have podium pace in me, but it didn't quite work out on the day. But what a load of fun, really good fun. Anyway, if you're going to have a go at Mini Moto, enjoy it, go careful, make sure you can get your feet on the pegs, don't break your leg, try and be smooth. I think smoothness is the key, really, as it is with karting or any kind of motorsport. Nice and smooth. Have plenty to drink whenever you're doing an indoor venue like this. The fumes just dries out your mouth. Same with karting indoors, you know, you get thirsty, so good to have a drink to hand. Some money for lockers, that kind of thing, although I think the lockers are free at M4 Karting. They just give you a token, but you know, it's the kind of things you need to think about. A few quid to put in a vending machine or whatever. Anyway, that's all. I hope that was useful in some way if you're planning on going to have a go at Mini Motos. And if you go to M4 Karting in Swindon, maybe the laps that I'm about to show you will be useful to you. Whatever, thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time. Since you rides.